Hi guys, welcome back to the Revive Stronger channel. I'm your host as always, Steve Hall. We are going over the takeaways from episode 146 with Paul Serafini. So guys, let's dig into those takeaway points. Takeaway point number one is that there's just not a lot of evidence right now comparing taking sets to complete failure versus leaving reps in reserve in trained, quite advanced lifters. And this is something that Paul gets quite deep into during the podcast because this is what his research is going to be on. Takeaway point number two was from Paul's own coaching experience. When quite advanced lifters go from grinding reps out and pushing it close towards failure to leaving reps in reserve, they see a spike in their strength. So this is really cool because right now we don't have the research to necessarily guide this direction, so anecdote is quite nice. Takeaway point number three is that leaving reps in reserve seems to be a really nice way to almost save yourself for future training so that you don't hit a wall or hit a plateau very soon. You can kind of see future overloads. I refer this to being like a runway at an airport. You can kind of keep moving forward until takeoff at the end, and maybe you need a deload then. Takeaway point number four, I think super important to a lot of the listeners on this channel because I know you guys potentially use the concept of reps in reserve and you guys are very analytical. And so the takeaway that is number four was that some people can be too anal with this sort of thing where they're like, was I 5 reps in reserve or 4? Or maybe I was 3. And they're kind of like, I have to know. The thing is, it's not really objective necessarily, the reps in reserve, and you don't need to be exact. You could give yourself a range of, okay, I'm going to be 4 to 3 reps in reserve, or even 4 to 2. All of these sets, as long as they're in that range, are going to be hypertrophic in a stimulus. They're still going to have that there. We don't need to be exact. So it might be just as the case of, okay, week 1, I'm going to take it to a point at which my reps slow down and it starts to get pretty hard. And thereon, I'm going to look to add load or add reps, potentially a set here or there. And it's going to get progressively harder until a point where you're basically hitting towards close to failure. That can be an absolute fine thing to do over the course of a month or so. Takeaway point number 5 is that one method that Paul uses is to try and aim for a certain reps in reserve for a number of sets rather than trying to aim for a certain rep on a number of sets. So this might be, okay, I want to hit 3 reps in reserve. I'm aiming for 6 to 8 reps. I'm going to pick a weight that allows me to land within that repetition range in my first set. And then thereon, as fatigue builds up, I might find that my repetitions drop down because I'm trying to stick to the same reps in reserve. That could be a really viable approach to then move forward with. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed those takeaway points. Favorite quote from today's podcast was basically Paul's hypothesis that those who are leaving reps in reserve and not going towards failure are going to be able to produce significantly more volume. So guys, again, I hope you've enjoyed this takeaway episode. As always, give us a screenshot, share it over on Instagram, give us a comment, give us a like, share the podcast with anyone you think might appreciate it. Take care and revive stronger.